Hey everybody, welcome back to Pretending with Dice. It's me, your host, AJ. I don't think I've ever introed it by saying it's me before. Yeah, trying different things. Welcome to the second of our World Building July episodes. For those who missed the sort of announcement things before, all throughout July we're going to be doing a world building episode every week to go along with World Anvil's Summer Camp 2021 event. This being the second episode, this is actually the first one where we're going to be answering a few prompts from the event itself. The first one we actually recorded just before the event went live and that. So yeah. Unusually, it is just me today doing a solo record on this one. So this one might end up being a little bit shorter than normal. Normally I've got Eden, or last time it was Nikolai, or we've had Amy and other people. Normally I've got someone else to bounce off of, but in the name of keeping it to one a week, and the schedule I wanted to do, it's just me. So yeah, I don't normally do these solo ones, so this might end up being a little bit of a kind of train wreck type thing, but hopefully you'll stick with me. As I say, may end up being a little bit shorter. But anyway, so the plan for today's one, we're going to look at the first set of prompts that have been revealed for the event. The way that World Anvil are doing the event this year is they're releasing the prompts in a series of kind of batches. The first lot of which we're looking at today, the copper prompts, were released on Thursday the 1st of July, so a week ago. The next lot are being released on Saturday the 10th, so that'll be our next episode. The gold prompts are being released on Tuesday the 20th of July, so that's going to be the next one along. And there's one final diamond prompt is going to be released on Friday the 30th of July, which I think actually might be after we were going to be releasing the last one, so we might fudge where we're gonna put that episode out, or we might just do like a sort of look back at the ones we haven't really sort of touched on. I'm not going to be coming up with everything today for all of the prompts. There's 10 prompts in all to start with, but we are going to look at a couple of them. I'm going to go through what all of the ones that have been released are, and then we're just going to pick a couple to sort of outline some basic things. And as is my way, I will then have to go back off recording and actually write an article based on it. As always, though, you can follow along with our own personal homebrew world, which is what all of the stuff we'll be coming up with goes to. This is where we set all of our D&D games, and that is our world of Valana. You can get to that, I believe, by searching Pretending with Dice Valana on YouTube. Either way, I'm going to link it in the sort of underneath the tweet. Why would I... Pretending with Dice World Anvil. I don't know why. Did I say YouTube there? Look, it's 11:30 at night. I will just test this as well, actually. Yeah, I think we've done it before, but Pretending with Dice Valana will get you there. First result on Google. Okay. So anyway, yes. Let's take a look at these first prompts then. So, as I say, we've got the first 10 have been released. So yeah, let's just read through these then. So, first up. A building associated with healing the sick. Okay. I'm immediately getting some thoughts on that. But we'll come back to them. I'll read through the whole list first. Condition. A medical condition which is feared by some. Might have to put a bit more thought into that one. Technology. This is related as well. All three of these are healing. A new medical cure, treatment, or breakthrough. A little bit of a change here then. So next one, species. A species of working animal. I guess a little different. Ethnicity. An ethnicity whose cultural exports are highly sought after. We can definitely tie that into some of the nations that we've got sort of already in our world. I'll have to have a think on that one. Next one, item. An extraordinary writing tool or type of writing tool. We can go a couple of different ways on that. I guess that could either be like a sort of famous, like the quill used at the signing of, something, or the quill used by the monarch or something, or it can literally just be a type of writing tool. I like the idea of it being like a relic writing tool, though. That's maybe the way to go on that one, especially to fit in with our kind of D&D type setting. Anyway, we'll come back to that. Location: an area or geographical landmark wrapped in myth, legend, or superstition. Well, I like my weird places, so I think that's going to be one to go and talk about on this episode. Myth: a myth about a mountain, lake, cave, or other landmark. Again, yeah, we've had fun on this before coming up with myths and things, because the go-to is like, oh, it's a myth, people believe it and that, and then it turns out that, there's always some grain of truth in them. So that's always fun. Oh, there's a second myth one as well. Okay, the next one as well. A myth or fairy tale about a prophecy, oracle, fortune-telling, or other revelation. That's worded in a very odd way. Like, is the myth about a prophecy that was told, or... That would be my read on that. May have to... that might not be one to come up with on this one, because I'd have to come up with a whole prophecy and everything. And finally, this is right in my wheelhouse, a festival associated with a celestial body. So... that is the first 10 prompts. A little bit of a spread of different things. 3 of them all associated with healing. So I guess we could kind of come up with 3 related kind of articles to do there. But the one that jumps out at me immediately, though, is that first one. A building associated with healing the sick. Now, I think this is something that Eden and I kind of talked about before on one of these, which is that maybe not all the healing is kind of done by the sort of priesthood or and whatnot. I mean, it's a D&D setting, but not every priest or every kind of sort of practitioner of medical arts is going to have like divine powers behind them, healing magic and such. There's got to be some kind of sort of just general sort of hospital type thing. Not everybody's going to have like a cleric on hand to be like, no, magically heal. There's going to be people who break their legs and they've got a broken leg and such, and it has to be treated in a regular way. So a building associated with healing the sick. I mean, so some kind of sort of, what you got, like Houses of Healing? Is that a Led Zeppelin song, Houses of Healing? I'm going to go off on tangents on this. You know what? You guys know what I'm like by now. We've been going for a few years. You know how tangent-based I am. Houses of Healing. Is that Led Zeppelin? Have I pulled that out of nowhere? Houses of the Holy. Where have I got Houses of Healing from then? Anyway. Sorry, bounce back straight from a weird brain fart there. As I say, it's 11:30 at night. Houses of Healing. Yeah, I think I kind of want it to... I like the kind of connection to the sort of like healing, priesthood and clerics and things, but also the sort of concept that 99% of all people, clerics and things are just going to be regular people who just believe in their god and they're just general priests and things, and that there's going to be some kind of sort of attached building maybe to certain temples, or at least in many places it is going to be attached to the temple, where regular people can go and just be subject, they can get medical attention and such. So I feel like, and that's not, that's not going to be sort of compatible with every single kind of deity we've got in the setting. I mean, I'll just bring up the deities page here. I mean, some of them it's going to work, but like, there might be, I can see that, Bahamut's temple helping the sort of, is it as a god of justice and life? There could be some sort of like, people come there to have their injuries healed, but Baal, the god of murder, is probably not going to have a hospital in his name, Or some of them, like, it's the fate of goddess of fate and destiny that sort of ties in athletics and endurance. I guess that's more of a gym. Lathander, definitely god of birth and renewal. I think that might be one to focus on then. It's one thing we haven't done. I've got this area in our capital city of Valenay. I think I just called it the Temple District, actually. Let me just... I'm navigating my way through. The Square of the Almighty. Okay, I called it in one bit, and then elsewhere I've just called it Temple District. I'm going to go with the Square of the Almighty, though, and just rename the Temple District. So yeah, the only kind of building I've got kind of detailed in there is the Cathedral of Bahamut. So I feel like most of the major gods are going to have, like, you know, their temples in, you know, some of them massive and some of them maybe just like a little shrine or whatever. But I feel like Lathander is one of the major ones. So maybe a good part of Lathander's temple is given over to this sort of healing kind of center. I don't want to call it a hospital because it is a hospital, but it's, you know, I'm trying to sort of differentiate it into this, like, no, we're in a quasi medieval, vaguely time set sort of setting here with magic and things. But yeah, no, okay, so what would we call this? It's like Lathander's temple, but I mean, I'm terrible at coming up with names on the spot is the problem. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's, yeah. Lathander's healing house, I guess, kind of what, that's the concept anyway. So maybe this is the largest sort of house of healing in Valinor, then, is the one attached to the Temple of Lathander. I think might be a way to go on this, as it's the god of birth and renewal. That can be sort of, you know, birth is, you know, is a medical thing, you know. Renewal, it could be interpreted as healing of a sort. So I feel like it's not a big stretch to have this be kind of part of their kind of temple complex sort of thing. I'm not going to come up with a name for the temple right now. Putting myself on the spot here. But yeah, having yeah, so I think this is the way I'm going to go on this. Building associated with the healing the sick. I could go with a general kind of, you know, description of, hey, here's a general thing that's in most villages, which is true. There's going to be some kind of, at the very least, sort of chamber where sick people are taken. But in the name of fleshing out our capital city, coming up with the big healing, you know, maybe I just call it the Houses of Healing. Come to think of it. You know, but branded like Lathander's Houses of Healing. Yeah, the Houses of Healing, I guess, but it's attached to the Temple of Lathander, at least, you know, nominally so. I think that's the way to go on that one. I don't know, to go into more detail right now. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. As a starting point, I think that's the way I'm going to go with that one. Come to think of it. Yeah. Because you know, I'm all for. We've kind of got these pages where I've like listed out deities and things, and we haven't really got, you know, a lot of them. We haven't gone into any kind of depth past a name and what their deal is. Yeah, what their sort of area of expertise. What's the name for that? Like their sort of place on the pantheon. Either way, so I'm all for kind of just fleshing those out a lot more and having like a physical location in the world where I can say, like, no, here is like the center of worship for Lathander, and it also happens to fill this prompt on the summer camp thing. There's Houses of Healing. Well, I can get 2 articles out of here. I can have the Houses of Healing and then a separate one for being the central temple, and I can link those. So I think that's an interesting thing. I think as this is me on my own, I'm going to be even more pushing it to be like, let me know what you think from you guys listening. I mean, tweet us, whatever. Jump on our Discord. That's right, it's a mid-roll Discord ad here. Jump on our Discord and tell me what you think. We have a whole channel dedicated to the world building stuff. Speaking of which, I do need to... I'll have to get a permission, but last episode, when Nikolai and I came up with the Pudumph, the sort of flightless bird, and that we had a wonderful drawing done of a young Pudumph by Kleptothermia on the Discord. So at the very least, it's worth the 100% free price of admission to come and see Klepto's awesome art. So yeah, join us on there. Link is in the Twitter bio and the contact page on our Discord, on our Podbean site. Let's move on. So looking at these other prompts then. I'm not going to go into like right now. I'm going to try and write as many of these prompts as I can throughout the course of the the event. I don't think I'm not going to try and wing a medical condition right now off the top of my head while recording, or a new medical cure, treatment, or breakthrough. I'm going to have to put a bit more thought into that. A species of working animal, though. The idea that's come to me of a sort of like a kind of hunting dog kind of thing. I know there's a little bit sort of Dragon Age sort of thing where they have the Mabari, but like I'm not thinking of anything quite so chunky as that. But maybe there's like a sort of a breed of hunting dog which is sort of renowned as like the kind of companion of. It's very much like, it's the rich man's hunting dog, basically. But they're renowned for their kind of cunning and sense of smell and loyalty and such. Let's pick a place. Actually, yeah. I'm going to have them look. They're not just going to be dog. I'm not just being like, it's a dog, Maybe visually, maybe they look a little bit closer to. Are they just called African wild dogs? I've been during lockdown. My mum and I have been watching a program called Secret Life of the Zoo, and I think that's what they're called, African wild dog. They look a little bit like hyenas, but this is them. They've got a kind of sort of blonde and brown sort of mottled pattern on them. I like that as a sort of starting point. Maybe not with quite such rounded ears, but I like the idea of these big ears and kind of like a camouflage sort of coat on them. But obviously not a wild kind of animal. Yeah. Okay, well that's a starting point then. Visually speaking, think of an African wild dog with slightly more pointy ears. And that's kind of where my thinking is at off the bat here. Where could we have it be? I don't... Yeah, we could have it be specific to a country, I suppose, as well. Like, this is the blah, blah, wild dog. I mean, what have we got nearby? We could just have it be from Ashala. Ashala is our neighbouring country to our main sort of setting of Valana. The one just to the west is Ashala, which is a little bit more... It's a slightly different culture. But we've already kind of established that there's a lot of kind of... That's a lot more sort of lots of nobles with their own little kind of sort of fiefdoms and baronies sort of thing. So I think having a kind of hunting dog that like hunting was maybe like a big kind of it's a big event for nobles that that's one of their pastimes, a little bit more so than our kind of general our main setting. Although of course we can there's going to be some crossover there. But where we've kind of established it's a lot of like lots of minor nobles. Basically every village is its own little sort of, not kingdom, but yeah, more so than our main one. Having a sort of a prized kind of like variety of dog that's like, oh no, we're the best hunts. Yeah, so we're going. I don't know. Call it. What should we call it? Just the Ashalan hunting dog, I guess. Kind of. I mean, that it does what it says on the tin, I suppose. Yeah. I feel like I should know more about dogs, just in general. But given, I've said it before. I have spent quite a few years working for a pet shop. But yeah, I don't think I need to go into more detail on here in terms of that. And today's episode is more just me coming up with some starting points for myself, I think, for these prompts. And having the Ashalan hunting dog, I think is, yeah, I'll have to do a bit of Google research on, or just on dogs, I suppose, to flesh out this article a bit more. But I think that's a good starting point. Just with the eye that like they're kind of, they got exceptional hearing, sense of smell. I don't think I want to put in like a sensitivity to magic, because we do that too often on these, which is just like, yeah, it's been affected by magic, or it's infused with some kind of magical energy. I don't know if I want to do that for this one. Maybe it's just like super good at what it does, I think, and it just happens to have this sort of camouflage pattern. Maybe not the blonde and that, because that's very much, it kind of fits with the sort of African savanna and that, which is not the geography in the area we're at, but maybe just the sort of slightly kind of mottled coloration and that. And that's where my head's at with that one, the species of working animal anyway. So I think that's a good starting point there. Just sort of got this mental image of like kind of a Charlan noble on a horse with these, a couple of these dogs sort of looking, and everybody's kind of like looking majestically into the distance. They're off out on a hunt, which hunt's something in real life I want to clarify. In Britain, I am not in favour of at all. Getting political this time of night. I realise it's a controversial topic though, and I do want to state my position on that. Much like in last week's one, where I was kind of forced, was like, we're talking about, it's the Puddump, it's really, really delicious, and I had to be like, just need to clarify though, I am vegetarian. I feel like I'm getting in a lot of weird self-induced hot water on this month's episodes, but this episode I think is going to be the one where people are going to be like, wow, you really went off the deep end in that world building rant. But yeah, okay. Now that I've dug myself into a weird little hole, let's move on to another one. Ethnicity whose cultural exports are highly sought after. For that would imply to me like a sort of, it's either rarity or distance or like restricted access is going to be the things that are, sort of the cause of it being highly sought after, or just general quality. Although I suppose that's a little bit less. I guess that's a little bit less sort of compelling if it's just like, oh no, they make the best stuff. Well, that is, I guess that is a reason why stuff would be highly sought after. But the sort of tough to get is more of a that kind of. There's more to work with there in terms of, for me, in terms of sort of stories. If it's like a type of good which is sort of hard to import by the people of our sort of land of Valana, it's tough to. It's not available in every market, kind of thing. There's the journey to get these goods to Valana is hard, or the people who make it are just themselves like. There's some geographical distance or something, or maybe they themselves have got like a sort of export sort of ban or something. We've got quite a few kind of, again, going back to the nations surrounding it. I think I'm gonna have to go somewhere a little bit more distant than just the sort of immediate neighbor of Ashala. We did talk about to the southeast. There's this nation called Onus, which has basically been It's in the process of being sort of consumed by the expanding auric wastes, and we'd sort of said that the people of there are kind of that life is incredibly hard, so they have to be sort of they have to rise to the challenge or they won't survive. But even cultures like that are going to be producing certain, they're going to be producing goods and things. But I think because of the sort of the difficulty and the sparseness of the sort of population there, maybe it is just like what's highly sought after is their sort of expertise in kind of, I don't want to jump straight to weapons or something like that, but maybe, the sort of the rarity of like goods produced there give it that sort of like, oh, this is a rarely seen I don't know, poncho from Onus or whatever, and it's made of this tough fabric that doesn't break down in the magical field of the auric waste or something like that. So like they're hard living, their place where they live is sort of, they have to be quite hardy and it's a tough life, but as a result the stuff that they produce also has to be sort of tough, hard wearing and reliable, and obviously going to be of a different design to those other nations around them that aren't afflicted so much by the sort of encroachment of the auric waste there. So maybe there's just that slight difference in kind of sort of design and purpose, and as I say, the relative rarity and such, these things aren't going to be made at a scale that goods are maybe made in some of the more populous nations. So maybe that's where I'm going to go with on the sort of ethnicity whose cultural exports are highly sought after. The people of Onus, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with them anyway, as I say, in terms of the sort of survival kind of desert sort of thing, except it's kind of like a magical sort of desert. There's a lot to dig down into with them, and I think this is a good place to start with them. So yeah, I'm going to go with the people of Onus for that. I'll have a think in terms of goods and stuff, but I've kind of sort of, whether it is kind of just like hard wearing sort of desert stuff, but then I guess any kind of, in a society like that, any sort of ornamentation and things are going to be quite precious and hard won, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so things like jewelry and stuff are going to be, they're going to be rare indeed. So maybe that makes them even more kind of highly sought after. That's a starting point. I'm going to keep saying at the end of one, that's where I'm starting. But yeah, that's my starting point, I think, on that. An extraordinary writing tool or type of writing tool. I think I'm going to skip this one for now. I am going to come back to it for the event, but I'll have to have a think. I think in terms of, I could maybe come up with like a sort of the quill that signed this treaty or something like this. I'll have a think on that one. That one's not really jumping out at me so much today. An area or geographical landmark wrapped in myth, legend, or superstition. Well, this is a good chance for me to kind of bring in an area on one of the other continents that we kind of briefly have mentioned the continent to the north, I guess northwest slightly, from our sort of regular setting. Our regular setting is the country of Valana on the continent of Etrun, which is a kind of it's mostly kind of temperate. It's analogous mainly to sort of Europe. To the northwest, across the Sea of, I haven't got my map in front of me. I want to say I called it the Sea of Whispers. I know there is a Sea of Whispers, but I can't remember if it's that one or it's the other one. There is the frozen continent of Arcturime, and specifically on that, I want to kind of, I think for this prompt, the landmark wrapped in myth, legend, or superstition, is that maybe there's a sort of deep within the interior there is rarely seen. The continent itself is not well explored. There's some, we've mentioned, I think, before about there being kind of marauders sort of coming across the sea to raid the northern coast of Valana and that in the past. So there's sort of coastal villages there, but on the interior of the continent is rarely explored. It's cold, it's tundra, and then the further north you go, it's frozen wasteland. But I've had this idea there that sort of unexplored. There is this, and sort of it's been noted by explorers, but like no one has had the chance to properly figure out where it came from, how old it is, or whatever. It is a completely frozen city, ancient and sort of massive, almost larger than any city on the currently definitely on that continent. And in my head, I've just kind of had it sort of called the City of Giants, but I don't want that. I want that to kind of be like, that's what was the person who kind of briefly glimpsed it called it that because it just seemed so huge to them. Or maybe there was some frost giants were living there at the time, but they definitely didn't build it, So it's sort of like it's a legend that sort of spread of like, oh no, there's this huge city there, and one day we'll get to it and find out what it is and where it's from and such. But it's other than sort of creatures like, say, like frost giants and things that have kind of moved in since the city sort of was abandoned. It's pretty much like a sort of ghost city, if you know what I mean. I'm picturing architecturally as well. I'm sort of kind of picturing how Asgard is shown in the Thor movies a little bit. So sort of massive on scale, maybe not a huge palace like in the center of Asgard in those films, but like sort of huge, kind of slightly Roman, slightly Greek sort of architecture, but like with a sort of, I don't know, but it caught in sort of a frozen hostile wasteland sort of thing. I haven't really thought much more about it other than that. I will say I don't have an actual origin in mind at the moment, other than like, wow, this would be a cool place to find sort of thing. So that's a starting point. That, and I'm gonna keep in my head calling it the City of Giants. I think until we get sort of, I will come up with a proper name. I think when I write this article, but it's going to be a sort of also known as the City of Giants kind of thing, aka. But that's what I'm going to go with for that prompt. I think is just to come up with some kind of, even if it's just like a brief article being like, hey, this is here, here's some things, and I'll come up with an explorer who first discovered it, and that the myth and tale is kind of disseminated from his expedition. I think is going to be the way to go on that one. Right, what is next? A myth about a mountain, lake, cave, or other landmark. Well, that's we've got a few of those already. I might skip this one for now. And same with the next one, a myth or fairy tale about a prophecy, oracle, fortune telling, or other revelation. As I think I said earlier, I think I want to put a bit more time and thought into those ones, rather than just be like, it's a lake. It's got the Lady of the Lake. I guess I'm just ripping that off. I'm going to put a bit more time and thought into that because we've got. I mean, the map is expansive and huge, and there's plenty of places on there where I can be like, this is the Sacred Mountain or whatever, and I don't just want to use this as an excuse to finally finish writing an article on the Winged Peak from our mountain climbing adventure previously. So I'll have a think about this. I think we'll come back to those ones. So the final one of this first group of copper prompts, a festival associated with a celestial body. Now, I did, as one of the prompts on last year's summer camp, which was describe an important celestial body or constellation in your world. I wrote a short, I don't know how many words that is, it's about 400 words, article about the moon of our world, which is called Arn, which it's a pretty large moon for a planet. It's a little bit smaller than our moon, and orbits a bit further out than our moon does. But yeah, I wrote some details about the moon, and we need a festival for Eluna, our goddess of the moon. So maybe we have, I think for this one, the Festival of Arn. Oh, is it Arn? It's just AN. We'll just call it that rather than be like the Festival of Eluna, which, because it's a bit derivative. We'll call it the Festival of Arn, which is it's going to be the first full moon of the year, I think. Dedications are made to Eluna, the goddess of the moon, and I haven't really put too much thought into like Eluna having big temples and stuff. I think Eluna is more of a stone circles and mountainside, not observatory, but almost like shrines, wherever you can see the moon the best, basically, is going to be Eluna's sort of temples and such. So, but this I think is going to be sort of, again, it's not going to be a highly sort of, what's the word? Highly organized festival. It's just like a known thing that like, we're celebrating the Festival of Arn this weekend because it's the full moon and that. So people will maybe, some dedications will be made, personally and privately in the way that people, give up dedications to the, sort of personal thing. I'm thinking more on the kind of Roman style, the sort of household gods. It's a small shrine or whatever, or they do things in their own way, rather than there being like a giant temple somewhere. There may be a big temple somewhere, but that's not this prompt. but yeah, as I say, stone circles and things I think is more what I'm thinking of, for this sort of kind of setting and that. Yeah. I'd say first full moon of the year. When I write the article, I think I'll try and come up with some sort of, I don't know, proper activities or whatever. But kind of. I mean, if it's the first full moon of the year, it's going to be kind of cold. I was going to say sort of, maybe dancing under the full moon, but I guess maybe that is a thing. Sort of being like, well, no, the weather doesn't matter. Damn the cold. We're going to be honouring our, the goddess of the moon. As for the first time in the year, she shows us the moon in its full glory or something like that. So yeah, let's say offerings, people, maybe this is going to be shortly after we have, what did I call it? Oh, I can't remember the name of it. I don't even know. I'm going to cut this out. There's kind of like a winter event, which kind of straddles the new year. So this obviously isn't going to be too far after that. But maybe it's a thing that people. We did a whole episode on it. Why am I blanking on that name? The Frostfire Festival. Of course it was. Yeah. Sorry, a bit of a brain fart moment there. So yeah, this isn't going to. I would, Frostfire Festival is straddling the first, the end of the one year and start of the next year. So there's not going to be a huge amount of time in between. So maybe this is a kind of known thing that those who do honour Eluna are putting food from. They're holding on to some things from that festival as like a sort of, a needs must kind of thing of like, no, we're going to honour Eluna, and we're holding on to some of our own sort of hard won kind of supplies and things. Midwinter is it's a tough time for food for a lot of people, but we've got a special bit that we put aside for the Festival of Arn. Traditions are important, especially sort of in this sort of quasi-medieval sort of setting. That's how people mark the year and such. So I think that's, yeah. We'll end this how I've been saying it a lot all the way through. It's a starting point. But yeah, that is all of the copper prompts. There's a few, obviously, that I haven't, we've skipped over this time. I will try and get to them. I never managed to do every single prompt in one of these events. I think the best we've done, we got a silver medal on one of them. But the way I think they're giving out the things is for the completion badges, if you complete 10 prompts throughout the whole thing, which I think we're going to do easily, although I do have to write the articles, which is the hard part, you get the copper badge. 20 prompts, you get the silver badge. 30 prompts, you get the gold badge. 30 prompts and the final platinum, or is it diamond? It might be diamond. Diamond, yeah. All of the prompts, including the diamond extra one, and you get the diamond badge. I think we could comfortably do the copper one. But I'm going to try and do as many as possible, which it's always fun. And like being able to flesh out our setting is a lot of fun for me. Even if it's, most of the stuff we may not ever touch on in game, or, whether it's on the podcast or whatever. But it's fun for me. I like having this sort of extra setting and such. But yeah, anyway, I think we're going to call it there on this one. I said it'd be a little bit shorter than normal, but it is just myself kind of rambling in the dark to myself. We will be back next week. I think I'm going to be joined next week by, I think maybe Liam and Shams are going to be joining me. And possibly Eden the week after. I don't want to set any of that in stone, but this is from conversations I've had. So it probably won't be quite so chaotic and me rambling on my own. Or it might be more chaotic, who knows? Tune in next week and find out. In the meantime, everybody, though, thank you so much for joining me today. And as always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Pretend With Dice. I mentioned it earlier, but please do join us on our Discord server. Aside from podcast stuff, we do a lot of fun things there, sort of group multiplayer gaming and things, and we're just ramping up to do our first listener one shot. I'm going to be running a few of our listeners on the Discord server through an adventure in our setting, in Valana setting. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And who knows? Join the server. Maybe you could play games with us as well. But yeah, as I said, for that, The link to get onto the Discord server is a persistent link in our Twitter bio and on the contact page of our Podbean site. It's also on the right-hand sidebar on the Podbean site, so check that out. And also, for those of you who don't ever go to the Podbean site, if you're on iTunes or Spotify or whatever, we are pretendingwithdice.podbean.com. I just realised I never ever give that out, but yeah, come along and join us. And I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining me. And have a good week, everybody. Catch you later. Bye.